Okay, good morning. We're continuing with Treifos, Siman Lamed Vav, and we're starting Seif Vav. I just want to go back at one point. I just spoke with Rabban David, and in case you were wondering, so a few Seifim ago, or Simanim ago, the Ramah had extra chumras as far as the shapes of the lobes of the lungs are a little bit different and inverted. So the Ramah was machmer, and the Shulchan Aruch was meko. You can look back exactly at the points. So I asked him. So he said, "Lamaisa, the Sfardim are meko, like the Shulchan Aruch. The Ashkenazim Lamaisa are machmer, like the Ramah, but." Each case depends on the, every Rav HaMakshir will depend, if they want to make their hashgacha for everybody or not. He believes that the Sfarda Kachsha would probably be machmer like the Ramah. He's not sure, but probably, if they're going to call it Glad Kasher. But something like this, in any one of these cases, certainly depends on the hechsher that you have. Such as the Rabbanut would always make these cases kasher. Because Mikar din, according to the Shulchan Aruch, it's kasher. So they're generally going to be a little bit more on the mekel side, if there's a machlokas. So that's one of the differences also between a badat sachsher, a mahadran versus a rabbanut.
How common is that sort of?
Did not ask him how common it is. And then they also had the case over there about inuna tevarda, that which is hafuch. What does that mean? So he says that's the middle lobe, a small middle lobe in the middle. It's a little bit off to the right, and he says it's round. Again, if you look at pictures, or perhaps we'll see one soon, if you have it's a little bit round, mainly round, with a little bit of a bite missing on the right side, towards. I think he said on the right side. Well, he said towards the heart, so maybe it's not. Anyways, it's towards the heart, and that's what's normal. And if it's on the other side, it's not normal. So that was the case where the Ramah was machmer as well. Okay, let's continue today with Vav. Se'i Vav. Nikav echad me'asimponot. So now you have a hole in one of the bronchi, right? Off of the main trachea, you get branches off, and then you get these smaller tubes. Perush kanim achalulim shebetoch hareya. So these are basically inside the lung, all right? Or as they enter into the lung and they continue to branch off. Shebifnim lechavero. It's inside. Kegon b'makom shemitpatzlin ze mizeh. So it depends. If this is in an area where ve'ein basar benehem, and it's not touching the meat of the lung. When it first branches out, right where it branches out, there's going to be a gap of airspace. Only when it gets further out, or the smaller bronchi, then they're going to be in contact to the meat of the lung. Okay, so but where there's open airspace, if you have a hole over there, so the halacha is treifa, because in other words, if you have a hole in the bronchi, then the air is going to escape the hole. Shechavero kasher ve'eno magin ala, because it's hard over there. The bronchi itself are hard, and it's pushing, and that's where it separates. So if it's right near where it separates, the meat of the lung isn't going to grow and cover that hole. Aval nikev labasar hareya. Nikev labasar hareya basar megin alav ukshera. But if you have the meat of the lung is resting and pressing over the bronchi where the hole is, then essentially you don't have a hole. Because even though you have a hole from the inside of the bronchi, from the outside it's going to be sealed from the lung itself. So that's why it depends where that hole is. We don't want hole escaping, we want hole to stay inside. The air to stay inside and not escape through the hole. Okay. The Shach just points out the Bach who argues based on his pshat of the Rambam, and he says everybody disagrees with the Bach, and that's the halacha. Okay. Bottom line, no air escapes, so therefore it's okay. Zayin. Save Zayin. Reya shenishpacha kekiton. If the lung, the inside of the lung, we're going to see the membrane is there. Ukirum ha'elyon shel hakayam shalem v'lo nekev. So the entire outer membrane of the lung is intact. There's no hole whatsoever. It's all shalem. It's all complete. However, the inside, part of it dissolves, even if all of it dissolves. Okay, that's just an exaggeration of the lung itself. The mass turns into fluid. The mass of the lung itself turns into, it looks like water. So then, even if the entire lung would turn into a water per se, then the lo nekiv. One second. The lo nekiv. That's talking about the krum. You read that. Ima simponot omdim bimkomam. As long as the bronchi are still whole, exactly the way they always are naturally, bimkomam velo nimuchu, and they did not dissolve kshera. It's 100% kshera. Okay. Shach points out, we didn't get there yet, but if part of it is missing, then it's worse. If part of it is missing, kedei revit, the size of an egg and a half, all right, that's a revit. The lung. If you have a chunk of the lung missing, then that could be a treifa. But if it's all there, but it just is dissolved into water, so then it is.
How can it be there if it's dissolved? You mean that?
The krum is there, and there's a mass of liquid instead of the mass of the lung. Asher Ben David, he says he's never seen this, and he assumes probably for health reasons they would not allow an animal, but he's not sure.
Sounds pretty sick.
Right. Okay. Let's keep reading. But if part of the bronchi, we're assuming it's still functional, right? I mean, obviously it's alive, right? So it's still functioning. And probably it's an expression that all of it is, and most of it and part of it is, enough of it is still intact, or it's still working. Okay. And Kavach Chaim points out that even if it's a little bit soft, it's starting to dissolve, but it's still not, and it blows up, then there's still what to blow up, so then that's not even a question, and okay. And that's for sure, okay? Okay, let's continue first. Where did we leave off? Ketzad osin. So what do we do? How do we check? You want to know if part of the bronchi dissolved inside. Ketzad osin. So nokuvim ota v'shofchim ota bakli. Shehushua be'ever. So you take a kli that's covered up with, lined with lead on the inside, or something white. That's how the Taz explains it based on the Tur, that it's white. Gemara just talks, at least Pshat Rashi or the Gemara just talks about lead. Im nir'eh chutim levanim. So if you see, because with this material it's easy to see streaks of white. If you see streaks of white in the liquid that pours out from when you cut open the membrane of the lung, so then you can assume where's the white coming from? It's coming from the white bronchi. Treifos. And so then for sure it's a treifos. But if not, if you can assume that the simfonot, the bronchi are intact, and it's only the basar hareya bilvad hu shenimok. So we assume only the flesh of the lungs is what dissolved ukshera, and it's a kshera. Now, we're allowing this if it looks basically clear. But if it looks darkish and smelly, has an odor to it, so then we call it a treifa. Agav, v'yesh machshirin afilu ba'akurim usruchim, and some are even mekel, even if it's dark and smells. Uhu shuhu baki livdok shelo nimochu asimponot yuchal lismoch alayo letzorach hefsed meruba. And anyone who's a baki, expert to know how to check, so you can rely on him for hefsid meruba. But the Kaf HaChaim quotes B'Shem all the Achronim that nowadays we don't do any kind of a vidika, and we don't check it, and we don't try and compare. And if also if the reya of an oaf also turns to water, that's certainly a treifa. And then he also concludes, seeing such a phenomena is extremely uncommon, so you don't have to worry about it.
Well, when the Taj says it's white, it sounds like the symptoms might not be a bar is white. Bar is red. Red's not white. And then against the dark background, you can see the white.
Maybe.
That's what
So you're saying, all right, maybe. Which is what's what?
right.
Maybe. I have to see the tour inside again.
It's very strange. You're looking for white against white. That doesn't make sense, right? Right.
Oh, I hear. Chet. Seif chet. Chaser miguf hareya. Now you have a piece of the reya, the lung is missing. V'lo nikva. But it doesn't have a hole. It's just a piece is missing. So therefore, the air is going to flow inside normally, and the body is going to get oxygen. So then it's kshera. Then it's kshera. Because there's no hole with the air escaping.
Wouldn't it have to be in one of the lobes, which we already covered? So what does it say?
We spoke about an entire lobe missing. We spoke about a partial lobe.
No, so the lobe's not looking like the leaf of the heart.
There was a layer that cut it off.
So here we're talking about.
It didn't perforate it.
So there we're talking about as a whole. Here we're talking about you see a chunk missing. I guess let's look at that together afterwards, maybe. So here, if you have a piece of the lobe missing, you have the normal lobe, but a piece of it is missing. You look at it, and it's depressed. It's a piece scooped out. It's dying kshera. V'yesh misha oser. There's an opinion that says it's aser. Right, that is some of the Rishonim, but we paskin it's mutter. Haga, minhag lahachshir yimach hisaron kekaf pshuta, avaim hisaron kekaf kefufa kazeh. So then it depends. All right, so it depends on how the whole or what the piece that's missing looks like. It could be missing just a little piece. It could be missing like a kaf kefufa, which is what we call a kaf sofit, or basically the shape of an L. So then that's the first case. And the Ramaz Meiko like the Shulchan Aruch in that case. But if it's like a kaf kefufa, which many of the Shulchan Aruchs have a picture, basically it means what we normally call a kaf. It's basically a U, exactly, a U. And what's missing is the U, not what's inside. It's the U itself is what's missing, or the L itself is what's missing. And the thickness of the entire U, or the thickness of the L that we're talking about, is if you're able to put your thumb inside. So similar, whatever the shear of an etzba is, maybe it's 2 centimeters, whatever it is. Also, it depends what you hold, but that's that thickness. If it's in that shape of a U, so then you end up with the inside, of the U. There's an inside. That's where the lung is. The hole is the U. So the inside of the U, there is something there. So then, as Rabbi David explained, if it's missing on 3 sides, so then that piece of that lung inside is going to flap around a little bit. It's going to be too loose, and that's when we're afraid. That's when we assume, according to the Ramah, it's a treifa. But if it's only in 2 directions, so that most of the walls are there, like an L, so then enough of it it's not going to be wobbly enough, and it can heal or just keep living like that. So then it's also only if it's like a U or a kaf kefufa, that's our normal kafs, so that's a treifa. V'im lav ksheva. The kol zeh kashenira chisar mibachutz la'af char hanaficha. Now, all these things are, again, we saw this before, it's after you blow it up, because the animal is living and it's, right, as it breathes and it inhales, so it blows up the lungs. אבל אם היא מבחוץ כשאר ריאה, אלא שנחסר מבשרה מבפנים, אפילו מחזיק החיסרון עד כדי רביעית כשרה. But if it's on the inside and you don't see it, so then the shear is, well, basically if it's on the inside, then the shear is kedei revit. But if you have a chunk of a revit missing, so then that turns it into a psula. Yeter mikan treifa. And the Taz is machshir, even if it's more than a revit, but it seems that the poskim, the Shach and other poskim disagree with the Taz, and they go with the Ramah that it goes by a revit. Okay, that's in the psak of the Ramah. Fine. Okay. And the Kaf HaChaim just points out that Ashkenazim are machmer like the Ramah, and Sfardim yesh v'yesh. Okay, and he says you could be. Everyone says you could be mekel like the Shulchan Aruch, even if a piece of it is missing, as long if you believe, if it's smooth and you believe that's how it originally grew and didn't happen later on by getting some kind of a makkah during its life. Okay, let's go to Tet. See if Tet. Hareya shenimtza ba makom atum. Now you have a piece of the lung that looks hard, basically, and it does not inflate. So you blow into it and it doesn't move. Kol shehu she'ein haruach nichnas bo. You get one of the lobes. It doesn't inflate. This says Ben David, Lamaisa, we don't blow. When I learned, I blew into an actual lung. But he says nowadays, when you go to any of these slaughterhouses, they have a machine. It's electric. It blows it up. If they all inflate, then it's good. If one of them doesn't inflate, we don't check. And he believes that they would always just say it's a treifa, or suffix treifa. But anyways, let's keep reading. Kol shehu she'ena ruach nichnas bo ve'ena ole beneficha. So if it doesn't blow up one of the lobes, so we're afraid it's not getting oxygen. If one of the lobes doesn't inflate, we assume, right, it's not getting any air. So it depends. Mevi'im sakin v'korim. The Ramah adds hakrum levad, right? I mean, the Shach says that it just basically enforces it. You don't cut into the meat; you just cut the outer layer. So I don't know. Rabban David says the Shulchan Aruch is saying you actually cut the inside of the lung to look for a blockage and to see if air is going to come out. One is we want to, if you're going to be able to find a blockage and you can find it and you're able to remove the blockage and get the air to go, then we're, like if it's just a mugla, some pus, then we're assuming air normally gets through and that doesn't turn it into a treifa. But the Ramah says, first check the outer, I don't know if it's only, but that's what it seems to say. You just check the outer membrane and see if air can get through. Anyways, let's just see first. Let's just read. So you cut the outer, either the outer membrane or a piece of the meat. So samuch mamash lamakom ha'atum. You go to where you think, where the mass is seems to be clogged and it's not inflating. Nimtza bolecha muteret. If it has some kind of secretion or pus over there, shemachmat alecha lo nichnas sham haruach. So we're assuming it's just temporary, and it's going to be mutter. Because right now there's no air getting in there because of the secretions. But it's not that, in essence, there's no passage of bronchi or any of the natural air pockets inside the lung for it to blow up. V'im lo nimtza bo lecha. But if there's no lecha there that's temporarily closing it up, so then we have a bigger worry. Maybe it's permanently clogged and then it's going to permanently not inflate and it's a treifa. So wait, one last chance. Notnin alav me'at rok or tevin or notza, you just put on that area where you think there some saliva, straw, something light, feather, im nitnane kshera. So you blow on it, and if it moves, so you know air is getting through. So even though it didn't inflate for you originally, the air is going through.
Would you put something on the outside?
You cut the membrane or whatever, and then you put something over there. As long as you're able to get air through the lungs, you're safe.
You don't put it over the cut.
Over the cut, yeah.
Oh, and then
So that you want to see if the air from the trachea can push all the way through. And if it can get all the way through, then we're good. And then we're assuming there is some exchange of oxygen within that lobe.
you put it on the other side of the blockage.
Beyond, right? Distal to the trachea. Okay? V'im lav treifa. Hagaf. V'lo mikri atum el kishamar edom el sha'areya el she'eno ole beneficha. So we're talking about when it's atum, but it looks fairly normal. It looks normal. It's just not inflating. Avimar edom el mugla eno el tinre v'kasher. But if it's just a little bit, if it looks like it's just part of it got hard on the outside, let's say you get some kind of a hard, I don't know the best word for it, a bubble, blister, tubercle, something over there that just made it hard. So then kasher, it's going to be below bedika. You don't even have to check. Af ba'atum, even if it looks like it's not inflating. Yirat chila litein areya b'mayim poshrim, litein mayim poshrim l'toch hakana. ולנענע אותה, ולמשמש הרבה במקום אטום, ולשפוך אחר כך מה שבתוך הקנה, ואם עולה אחר כך בנפיחה כשרה. So you can just put it in water or pour water through it, and then see if it blows up afterwards. ואפילו אם כבר נחתכה הריאה, אם יוכל לבדוק על ידי שפופרת שיעלה במקום האטום בנפיחה, יש להכשיר. Even if you cut it open, you can still check later on, just to see if air can get through that lobe. Okay, Yud. Again, it's not so practical nowadays, but okay. Yud. Reya shakasha ke'etz v'mishusha treifa. If it becomes hard, like a block of wood, right? It's hard, and you can't press on it, then it's a treifa. V'huadin im kala ke'etz treifa. Also, if it became very light, like a hollow piece of wood, or it's got some holes, so then the Shach describes it like you have a rotten piece of wood and part of it's getting eaten through, and so it's much lighter than normal. Okay, I guess if it's too light, I don't know. Yud Aleph, Reya Shenistama, Dahainu Shenimset Shlema. Now let's say you have a Reya, looks perfect, right? And then you hang it up. You hang it up, and then all of a sudden it just dissolves in front of your eyes, falls apart, and falls to the floor in pieces. That's a treifa. Okay. Yud bet. Reya shenimset nefucha kamo ikar chariot shel deker osrim ota misafek. Okay. Now, if you find it and it's all blown up, swollen. It's all swollen. There you go. So then, just like as an expression, like when you have a leaf and it all the palm branches and it all opens up on you, and so here your area is all swollen. So then we say it's a treifa in something. Okay, maybe stop. All right, we'll stop.